All right. So, just a quick introduction. I'm Zach. I've been in the truth community for about, I don't know, since I was 21. So I guess 7 years or so. Although I've only really been getting into it heavy in the past couple of years. So we'll say 3 years. We'll say 3 years. I'm from the southern United States, deep south. I'm a Christian, although no one is excluded here. So don't go anywhere now. What I mean, I'm accepting of all people. I'm a real truther, real truth head. So I don't really exclude anyone. I kind of open to all possibilities. I think that everything kind of translates the same way regardless. But let me get into what I want to inform you about today, or kind of let you know what I was thinking. I didn't have anything really too big planned out. I figure this is my first video. It's better to just do it, get it out of the way, start the process, and don't think too much about it. So that's what I'm doing now. So, if you've never heard of him, this is a truth YouTuber called Uncanny Deductions. He does a lot of good videos. Check him out. He did a video called Not Milk, which is a variational term coined by Matt of another YouTube channel, Quantum of Conscience. Pretty popular one. I think he has over 100,000 subscribers now. So, Matt of Quantum of Conscience, I'll have his link down in the description too. And finally, before I really get started, I wanted to thank Ben from Vat City. Ben has been an inspiration to me. He's the one that really got me started in the truth in a hardcore way, and inspired me to become a Christian, inspired me to learn about Jesus Christ our Lord, and really, his work is a stroke of genius. Every time I watch his videos, something new comes up. So I would recommend him as well. VAT_city. VAT_city. So with that being said, the premise of this video is kind of playing off of a video that Uncanny Deduction made called Not Milk. And this is a play on the term from Matt from Quantum of Conscious called Not Nilk. Now, if you see here, it is Clinton backwards. So Clinton backwards. Pretty funny to me, Clinton, not Nilk, because it's basically an allegory for essentially the evil in the world, and specifically the people who are the puppets of the evil force in this world, kind of directing it. Well, it kind of got me on this whole rabbit hole. I was thinking about it all day long, about milk and what that represents in the Bible. I probably don't read my Bible as much as I should be reading it, but any time that I get an opportunity to read and to interpret things, I surely do. Anytime I feel inspired. So this is a time that I was inspired, and I'll start off with Exodus 13:5. Notice the numerology here. 13 plus 5 is 18. 18 is 666. Now you would say, oh, well, that's evil, right? Not necessarily. I see a lot of these numbers, synchronicities, different images and symbolic representations of things in my life, as I'm sure a lot of you do as well. You tend to, as you get closer to the truth in life, as you get closer to the Lord or to the source, whatever you have it. So I just see that as a sign that I'm getting closer to something real, the more the synchronicities pop up. You know, I see it a lot that people take it as negative, like my father believes it represents Satan or the evil. I think I may have gotten him confused. I've got to teach properly, and this is kind of the point of these videos, is to kind of enhance my teaching process through action. But anyway, I'm gonna read this here for you. And it shall and it shall be when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites, so on and so forth, which he swore unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep his service in this month. So, first off, It shall be when the Lord shall bring thee, so Lord, capital Lord, shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites. And it goes on to list other communities there, other peoples. Well, the Canaanites in the Bible were the people who rejected Christ in the first place. They drove him from their coast. They did not want Christ uh, basically preaching and ministering in their land. They drove Christ out. So this is kind of allegorical of the general group of people here that reject Christ. And a lot of us, me especially, surmise that these people are what we can recognize today as the Freemasons, your fraternity, your, Temple Orientists, your so on and so forth. So there's many different organizations, basically all under the same wing. You know, that's pretty simple to understand. Now, getting more advanced with it, it's like, why would the Lord bring you into a land with these evil people? Why would the Lord throw you into a place where he knew evil existed? You know? And there's a lot of perspectives on that out there. There's a lot of ways to think about this. So there's a lot of things that teach, like, Buddhism, for etc. I believe speaks about how, you've chosen to be here and you've chosen to do it for a certain purpose. That theme runs through Christianity as well. That you're here for a certain purpose that, was ultimately your choice. That's what original sin comes down to in the Bible, I believe, is that you had chosen your own fate. And even though you don't remember it in a physical sense, and a memory as you understand it, you did choose to be here. That's essentially one of the ideas in the Bible, in my opinion. So, what it's saying here, if we go on to read the last of it, he will give you a land flowing with milk and honey if you were to do this. So, it's like a bargain is being made here. It's like saying, okay, if I bring you into this place, if you willingly come into this place, I will grant you this, a land flowing with milk and honey. Now, obvious baby bear understanding, first level, well, material milk and honey, like probably literal milk and honey, not necessarily money, wealth, a good life, a safe place for your children, a safe place for your family. That's certainly one interpretation where this literally happened, which it did, but it happened because it represents the story itself in history as an allegorical story, like a symbolic image as a story for you to understand a concept. I believe that's the way a lot of things work in the Bible. In fact, almost all of it. I can hardly say that I'm wise enough to understand most of the things in the Bible for their full depth. It will take 1,000,000 years and then 1,000,000 more to even, scratch at the surface. But one idea here is that you reach this spiritual land of honey, of milk in particular, the spiritual milk, by going through this process, by being distilled down through this burden, through this hardship that you have to go through, to come out the other side into a better place. Because initially we were, not in a good place, and I believe, Bible says that many times. I'm not saying you need to feel guilty about that. It's not about feeling guilty. It's not about feeling bad. It's not about feeling as if you have to, have negative emotions about yourself. It's not about that whatsoever. What it's really about is like taking accountability for the situation. And once you take accountability for it, you are admitting that you can make it out of that situation. This is an idea I got from Ben from Bat City. It's directly from him. And, I'll add upon that and say that that is how everything in life works, even the material sense. People who are blown about by the wind, like it talks about in the Bible, it is because they do not take accountability for their own circumstances, and thus, through manifestation, through the free will you're given by God, you therefore are manifesting the fact that you do not have power. As soon as you admit that you have power over your life, as soon as you admit that you have power over things that happen, you immediately gain control over the circumstances. It might not be immediate, it might not be the way that you like, But I guarantee that if you take that attitude and you really bring it forth, you'll be able to take control over some of the things that happen in your life to an extent, you know? That doesn't mean nothing bad will ever happen. However, with that change in perspective, you're suddenly on the right path to achieving what God promised here. I know I'm kind of bouncing around all over the place. My first video, so let me get back into it. Milk. So, milk. We're going to continue down to Proverbs 30:33. Yep, 33. You see it. So, we're on the right path here, I think. Surely the churning of milk bringeth forth butter, and the wringing of the nose bringeth forth blood. So the forcing of wrath bringeth forth strife. Bringeth forth strife. And this kind of goes along with what I was just talking about as well. It's like whatever you do and whatever your thoughts are, that's what the result will be. It's not really complicated. I mean, it is when you're in the midst of it. But looking from a top-down perspective, like how God may see it, which I cannot understand the thoughts of God, obviously, but how I can imagine God would see things is like, you do something, and then something happens to you, and then you immediately say, why did this happen? And God tries to help you and puts you in circumstances that will help you out of that situation, and you immediately blame God or blame someone else or blame the environment or blame your, outside external forces when there are no outside external forces. Those don't exist. There's only God and there's only you and there's only other people in the world who are spirited, Who is to blame? Who are you directing your anger towards and your judgment other than yourself when you blame your outside environment? At the end of the day, since you are granted free will, you can be in any situation that you choose to be if you start on that path. So that kind of reinforces that thought that I had. And I want to focus on the first part of this to go along with my initial point. Surely the churning of milk bringeth forth butter, right? Milk bringeth forth butter. Now, what is milk into butter? It's a transformation. It's a metamorphosis, you could say. It's very interesting. I started thinking about this. Let me pull up his channel, and you'll see this video right here. Metamorphosis. First word of the Bible in imaginative symbolic interpretation. I started thinking about this even before this video came out. And as you can see, big 9/11 there, representative of the gematria of in the beginning in Genesis. So it all ties into each other, as you know. It's so interesting to me how this plays out over time. It really is. God is so beautiful. Source is so beautiful. And once again, since this is my first video, I want to say if you're coming into it, if this is uncanny deduction, if this is Matt, or if this is anyone else, just because you don't necessarily believe in the exact same way that I do, if you're not a Christian, please don't be turned off, I simply want to offer my perspective, and I'm not here to, vilify any other perspectives at all. I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments. So, with that being said, this is an interesting synchronicity here, since I had this idea for this video, and he was speaking about metamorphosis. So, butter from milk into butter. The process of doing that is essentially turning something that was liquid into something solid, solidifying it. So, you could think of this in several ways. And the first is that your intention and the outside environment are like liquid when you first come into them. And when you bring your awareness over it, it's then churned into butter. So that says, like it says here, it's surely that it's the same that the wringing of the nose bringeth forth blood. Like if you get clogged, you're gonna bleed. Just as the same as if you churn milk, it'll turn into butter. So this is like God is simply establishing this is a fact. The fact that when you look upon something, it will transform. That's how I see this in a way. And so, if that is the case, which I believe it to be, what is the milk in the first place that we would look upon and bring forth butter out of, bring forth a solidified environment, a solidified experience out of. Matt, excuse me, Ben from Bat City speaks about like the screen, the image, the kind of like a film that a light, your light shines through the film and it creates the movie onto the screen. You know what I mean? And that film, I believe, is like the film is like the layout, and the milk is like your awareness in a way. That's what I'd like to say. Like the milk is the awareness and it's the film at the same time. It's like Jesus Christ. It is the witness and the word. You know, it is the world and the observer of the world. You know, and what's beautiful about that is that the milk, in another way, when he promises milk, not only promising a solidification of the outside environment based on your viewing of it and transformation and a free will that God grants you, but the milk in itself being like that thing that we all desire in the end. There's many ways of saying it: connection with God, love, returning to source, positivity, family, anything, any positive immaterial source of gratification, I believe, is what that could also represent. It's so very interesting to think about the fact that the things that before we were in the truth, especially me, chasing material things constantly and like finding nothing in it really. At least I didn't, But as soon as you give it up, as soon as you give up the fight, you're willing to accept the fact that there is no milk to be found, suddenly there's milk everywhere. You know what I mean? Suddenly you actually find it. At the moment that you accept the fact that you're gonna, you know, die of dehydration out in the desert, suddenly you come upon an oasis. The moment that you come to peace with that fact. And I find that very interesting. It's like you cannot be given things unless you are ready to accept being without them. Because otherwise, if you are desperate for them in a way, if you were given too much, it would choke you. It would be not beneficial to you, but you're slowly introduced back. And this is another idea in the Bible too. And so if we go up here, let me find it. 1 Corinthians 3:2. I have fed you with milk and not with meat, for hitherto you were not able to bear it, neither yet now are ye able. So essentially what this means is you're still a child. You're an infant in your spirituality, in your spiritual life. You're an infant to God. You're still a child, so you're not able to process the full breast of God's wisdom or God's, gift to you. So he gives you something that's more malleable, easier to digest, something that will reflect yourself back onto you so that you can be more comfortable with it. Think of how I described the milk a moment ago, where I said it's like something that when you put your attention upon it will come to something familiar based on your own perspective, but yet offer something still from the hand of God. Um, that's basically what he's saying here. One of the many things that God is saying here is that the milk is what he's giving you to kind of prepare you for the real world by giving you something like a training course, like weaning you. This is what this world is, weaning you from having something comfortable, having a layout that forms to your perception of it, you know. And once you're able to be comfortable with that and then comfortable without it, then you can be introduced into the world where you have the real power that you already have, but has been taken because of you know, your own decision. Because you made a mistake, the original sin, it was taken from it because you took it from yourself because that's what you desired, because you felt guilty for the way things were. That's what I believe happened there. One of the many things. So many things to say, about that. There really is. I think this would be a good time to end it off, just with a few ideas there. I'm going to elaborate more. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless your life. And I hope things are easier for you than you might anticipate. You know, I hope things aren't as hard as they seem. And I hope everything comes to a happy ending, which I believe it will, no matter how scary things seem at times in the world, how scary things seem in your own life, you know. So, yeah, bless you. Good fortune upon you. And I hope you have a good day. You know, it was a pleasure meeting all of you, and I'll have more videos out soon. All right, goodbye.